In the Heart of the Sea is directed by Ron Howard and stars Chris Hemsworth and is the story of Moby Dick, a giant whale that took on a bunch of whalers back in the day, and the story of survival that ensued after an attack on their ship. Before I get into the meat of my video, I want to make sure that you guys know to stay tuned for the end of this because I'm excited to tell you guys about a new sponsorship that I'm running with, and that is Loot Crate. They're doing something very cool in December, Star Wars related. I'm going to talk to you guys about that at the end of the video. Ever since I saw Jaws for the first time as a kid, I was always enticed by the sea. There was something about it that was startling to me, something about it that creeped me out. It gave me the chills. There are times where the camera bobs underwater and you're greeted with a sight of 5 to 10 whales and you realize that you are just a speck. You're a little tiny piece of nothing. And that's my favorite aspect of this movie. There is a theme going throughout it that men can't really do a thing against nature. That we're just little bits of dust. And if nature decides to look poorly on us one day, well, we're screwed. And similar to a recent Ron Howard film, also starring Chris Hemsworth, called Rush, this film is also about two men who are competing with one another. We have Chris Hemsworth who wants to be a captain, and then we have a guy who actually is the captain because of his family name. Hemsworth's character has earned this position, but this guy got it because of his family name, and so they're automatically at odds with one another. And those two parts of the film, man against nature and man against man, are my favorite parts of In the Heart of the Sea. The unfortunate truth behind this movie for me was I really didn't give a crap about any of these characters. The movie takes a long time to get interesting. It's not until the third act that I actually started caring. And if you don't really care that much about the characters until the third act, well, that can get pretty boring. Even though all the trailers are trying to make you think this movie is actually about a giant whale, it's not. That thing is hardly in the movie. It shows up every once in a while to maybe smack a boat and have the boat go flying and oh crap. But the movie itself is really just about the two men on the ship and their confrontation with one another. And that aspect of the movie I liked. It's just that it also is trying to be this epic sea adventure. And the way the film is shot, the cinematography is extremely crowded. You just don't feel that epic scope when you watch this movie because a lot of it really does appear as if it was shot on a green screen background. The CGI for the whales I thought was terrific. And even though I didn't really feel their presence, and especially Moby Dick's, I certainly didn't feel that he was this terrifying thing to be reckoned with. They were at least really good looking, and they looked realistic, and I bought into them being there. But I never really felt the grace or the majesty of these creatures. They were just there to make everyone else have a shitty day, which was disappointing because whales are some of the most beautiful creatures on Earth. And I never really got the sense that they were these things that we were supposed to be fearful of, and that if they decided we don't like you one day, that could be really bad for anyone in a boat. And yes, the film depicts those events as terrifying and very frightening, but you just don't feel the epic scope of Moby Dick. It's not there. It feels a little bit low key. Think about in 1975's Jaws. The first time you really see that shark, you feel it. And that was with a mechanical shark in the 70s. This film, with all of its technological advances, I just didn't feel the weight of this creature. I didn't feel the impact of this creature because a lot of this movie does look very artificial. Chris Hemsworth and the rest of the cast really dedicated themselves to their roles, losing a lot of weight. It's very impressive, and their performances are mostly good, although Hemsworth and his accent does go off and on quite often. Overall, I would say the acting in the movie was fine. I wanted it to feel like there were more stakes. I wanted there to be more weight to the drama. Even when our heroes are trying hard to survive and they don't have much food, you just don't really care that much because I personally didn't care for the characters. Even our main hero was just given the screenwriting basics. A wife at home who's pregnant. That doesn't mean we automatically like the guy. I didn't really care that much for the characters. And I just didn't feel that epic weight and scope this movie needed. That being said, I liked the man against nature element, and I liked the man against man element of our first mate and captain at odds with one another. Those are the best parts of In the Heart of the Sea. As a film, I was disappointed by it, though, overall. I'm going to give In the Heart of the Sea a C+.